Hello and welcome back to another episode of Fully Booked, the Hidden Gems author podcast with myself, Roland Hume, and the founder of Hidden Gems, Craig Touch. And today we are going to be talking about going wide, publishing your books on a wider audience than just Amazon. And to talk about that, we have a very special guest. We're hugely excited to have her here. She is Erin Wright, who is a contemporary Western author, writes these great books, beautiful covers, cowboy hats, guys in cowboy hats. But she's also very, very well known for her Facebook group. They're one of the largest Facebook groups called Wide for the Win. And it's all about going wide and finding success as an author beyond Amazon. So, Erin, how are you doing this morning?
I am doing terrific. Yes, we are the largest Facebook group out there for wide authors. We just surpassed 11,000 authors in the group. So, yeah, and at the end of this March 29th will be our 3-year anniversary of being in existence. So, it's been an exciting ride.
That is wonderful. And of course, we have the man himself, Craig Touch. How are you doing today, Craig?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. And yeah, thanks for coming, Aaron. Like, this is something we've been talking about for a while. You were pretty much one of the first people that I contacted when we were talking about doing this podcast because I wanted to get you on. I mean, that's one of the biggest questions that I get from authors is about, going wide and breaking the Amazon treadmill that they're on, where they can't, get off. They, especially if they're in KU, obviously they're exclusive, but they want to know whether or not there's any what the value is in breaking that off and going to the other sites and how they would do that and all the steps that they need. And often, I'll send them over to the Wide for the Win group, or, if I can help them, or, talk to you about it. So that's why we really wanted to get you on here tonight and talk to this. And I'm sure this is going to be one of many discussions we have because, it's such a broad topic that we're
It
not going to be
is.
able to cover it all in one. So today I hope that we can
Mm-hmm.
just go over some of the real basics, right? So,
Yeah.
let's just start it off by like what it really means to go wide. Like,
Sure. So when somebody is talking about being a wide author or whether or not they should go wide, they are referring to the ebook format, right? So there's a misconception out there, or it tends to be something that newer authors get confused about or worried about. Of can I sell my paperbacks wide if I am choosing to be exclusive to Amazon with my ebooks? Will I get in trouble for that? No, you won't get in trouble for that. There is a program with Amazon called KDP Select or Kindle Unlimited. It's quite often just referred to as KU, where you say, I'm going to be exclusive to Amazon. I'm going to enroll my books in the KU program, and in return, I will get page reads when a reader goes in and borrows my book and reads it. I get paid per page that is read, along with being able to sell your books. You get more visibility by being in the KU program on the Amazon website, and you get these page reads that a wide author does not have access to. So, a wide author, again, only with ebooks, is where they go, yeah, I'm going to publish on Amazon and I'm going to sell my books there, but I am also going to publish on other storefronts. So, wide authors can sell their books for the regular retail price. They just don't have access to the page reads portion of the program. But when that happens, they can do so much more with their ebooks than they would be able to if they were exclusive with Amazon. So, when you are exclusive with Amazon in the KU program, you are not allowed to do virtually anything with your ebooks. It's very locked down. You get to publish it on Amazon. That's all, folks. You cannot put it on your own website, and not even for free. You can't even give it away for free off your own website. You cannot be in any libraries in around the world. You are not going to be in a single library because they can't access your books. And you certainly can't be on any other storefront. You can't be. There's a whole new group out there called serial apps, like serial killer, not the cereal that you eat, although cereal apps do not kill you, so that's good. Anyway, there's serial apps is a whole new thing that is happening. It's really big in the author world. You cannot access that. You can't put your ebooks onto Kickstarter. I don't know if you guys heard about Brandon Sanderson making millions of dollars in a couple of hours, but that's a big one. You can't do that. You can't put your books onto Patreon. You literally can upload your book to Amazon.com, and that's all. So when you go wide, you can publish your books on Apple and Google Play and Kobo and Barnes & Noble, which are the main storefronts that most people think about when they think about going wide. But there are all these other opportunities of all these other places that you can publish your books. And so it just gives you a lot more control over your author career. It's a lot more stable. It's a lot less stressful because I'm not sure when the people who are listening to the dulcet tones of my voice will actually listen to this, but not that long ago, Ruby Dixon got her account shut down on Amazon. And yes, they did give it back to her, but it apparently was some sort of mistake, and we don't know what happened, and now we're giving it back to you. But if this is your entire income, this is your career, this is how you keep your lights on, this is how you feed yourself, and Amazon just arbitrarily shuts you down one day, if you are wide, it is just one of your sources of income rather than being a death blow. And now you get to go work, down at 7-Eleven as a cashier because you need to be able to make rent and eat. Strange things that us human beings like to do. So yeah, that's one of the biggest misconceptions is that when they are in KU, they think that they can't have their audiobooks wide, or that they think they can't have their print books wide. That is not true. KU, Kindle Unlimited, and the exclusive program is 100% to do with ebooks and nothing else.
Right. Wow. There is a ton to unpack there. Yeah. That's interesting. We've talked, and it's not just Ruby Dixon. We've talked about that before on our blog, and I get emails from authors about that as well. It's the whole Amazon shutting down author accounts. I wrote a bigger two-part article about that as well a few weeks ago or a month ago, where exactly, it was they shut them down, and then the onus is on you to get it all back, right, and prove to them, instead of the innocent until proven guilty, it's guilty until proven innocent. And it's the onus is on you to prove yourself innocent, and the onus is on you to find someone willing to listen to you proving yourself innocent, because most of the people don't care. Most of the stories I heard, they eventually got it back, but they had to contact Amazon 8 million times and talk to 8 million different people. And, almost all of them were like, yeah, too bad, you're done, until they found that one person who was like, oh, wait, no, we did actually mess something up, and it's like, it took them forever. It's silliness. And so you're taking away the risk by, publishing out to all the different storefronts. Because of Amazon or one of the other ones was to shut you down, at least you can still make sales. You can still bring an income in during the time where you're trying to work that out, instead of just being shut out completely, right? And if it happens at a bad time, like during your launch, that can totally screw up your entire launch.
And it's going to get worse. I got locked out of my personal Facebook account, and there's nobody to speak to. And I think Amazon is the same size. It's going to get to a point where there just is no line of dialogue between the people who can rescue you. And you're right, it's what pays your mortgage.
Yeah. And that's just terrifying. Like, to not have that control over being able to eat, like, what? I am not capable of doing that. I am not capable. I did want to say really quickly, the other misconception that people have with KU is there's been a lot of question of, okay, this book in English is in KU. If I get translated into French, can I have it go wide, or does it also have to be in KU? And they consider each of those to be separate. So you could have your German translations in KU and everything else wide, and your French ones are everywhere, whatever. So each one of those is separate, just as something that trips a lot of people up.
Yeah,
I mean, I personally say go wide with everything, but in case you're curious.
Yeah, well, I guess I am kind of curious in the sense of, for the paperback sales, a lot of people, a lot of self-publishers at least, will use Amazon for their they used to be CreateSpace. Now it's just, I guess, through KDP, where you can use them to create your paperback. But if you were to do that, can you go wide with that paperback?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Amazon, they give you something called expanded distribution. It's a checkmark box that you checkmark as you're uploading the print book to them. Um, Mark Leslie Lefebvre, one of my favorite people in the world, he calls it pretended distribution because it does technically go out and is available beyond the borders of Amazon.com to be able to purchase. But the sales are very, very minimal beyond Amazon's storefront. So expanded distribution, literally what they are doing is they are taking your listing and sending it to a place called Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark is the largest print on demand company out there. And they have a really great network with tens of thousands of libraries and retail bookstores. So when you check mark expanded distribution, you are just saying, send my book, here you go, thanks Ingram Spark. Now Ingram Spark gets to send it out to all of these places. Amazon basically just goes in the middle, and so they get a cut of it, right? They're going to take their cut. Um, they won't allow you to set your own discount on your book. And you can't set your own policy in terms of whether or not you receive returns. And you're less competitive because Amazon needs to take their cut of things. And libraries and bookstores see that the listing is coming from Amazon. That's part of the listing as it goes out. And a lot of bookstores in particular feel like they're a whole business is being destroyed by Amazon, right? So they are not likely to want to purchase a book that is coming from Amazon via Ingram Spark. So that's why it's called pretended distribution, because for all of those reasons, if you select that checkmark box, you're not going to make very much. So what you want to do is upload your book to Amazon, absolutely, but also upload your print book to Ingram Spark. When you do that, Ingram Spark will then send your book to actually Amazon. But if you have already uploaded your book to Amazon, Ingram Spark will send the file over, hit that, go, oh, whoops, we already have a copy of that, and Amazon will suppress the version coming in from Ingram Spark. So you will not end up with duplicates. So you want to actually publish in both places. Amazon did not graduate out of kindergarten and does not know how to work well with others. And so if you only upload to Ingram Spark and you don't upload directly to Amazon, Amazon will quite often suppress the listing. They will change your pricing all over the place. They will not couple it together with your listing on Amazon. They basically do not want you to sell your books on Amazon via Ingram Spark. Makes them grumpy. Like I said, they did not learn how to play well with others in kindergarten. Somebody needs to send Jeff Bezos back. But anyway,
Don't hold back. Say how you really feel.
Oh God, sorry.
No, that's funny. I think it's hilarious. No, that sounds absolutely fine. It's what you're saying. That's a brilliant way of explaining it.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's not a problem. Yeah, I was actually wondering too, like if I never, when I did my paperbacks, like a lot of authors, it wasn't with any sort of idea of pushing it out to bookstores or libraries. It was more, to get early reviews or to get a few copies for myself or to give to a friend or whatever. So I never went beyond, and back then it was also CreateSpace, right? But I think it pretty much works the same way now. But I never tried to push my book, my paperback out to other stores. Do all the other ebook stores like Barnes and Apple and all that stuff, do they even deal with paperbacks? And is that the same thing where they would get it from Ingram Spark in that scenario that you just outlined, or is that done differently?
That's actually a really good question because I've had people be very confused about like, do I need to go into every single storefront and upload my print book and blah, blah, blah. No. Apple, Google Play, and Kobo, out of the main wide storefronts, Apple, Google Play, and Kobo, they do not sell print books. So there is no Google warehouse sitting there where you can, or an Apple warehouse where you can sit there and order a paperback and get it sent to your house. That does not exist. They simply sell eBooks, the end. Barnes & Noble does sell print books. Barnes & Noble does allow you to upload your print books to them along with your ebooks. So you could technically upload your print books to Amazon, Ingram Spark, and Barnes & Noble. You don't really need to. There's not much point in doing it. You don't get anything extra by uploading directly to Barnes & Noble at the moment. This may change in the future, but right now you don't get any sort of extra visibility. You don't make more money. You don't get anything from doing this. And Ingram Spark will send your book to Barnes & Noble, so you do not need to upload directly. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that does make it easier, I'm sure. So they're not taking a cut when they send it to all those different stores? Ingram?
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. But here's the interesting thing about print. Why this is, I don't know, because yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But there are actually 3 different templates when you upload to Amazon, Ingram Spark, Barnes & Noble, which is crazy because if you upload to Barnes & Noble, they ship that order. If somebody goes on to Barnes & Noble and decides to order this print book, that you have uploaded directly to Barnes & Noble using their dashboard. Barnes & Noble says, thank you very much for this order. They turn around to Ingram Spark and say, can you please print and ship out this order? Barnes & Noble does not own any printing machines. They do not print their own books. So all they're doing is sending it back to Ingram Spark. However, they still have their own template. And thou shalt not use a template from Ingram Spark or Amazon on Barnes & Noble. It will kick it back and give you error messages. Also, Amazon, they have their own template, which is bizarre because they do own some printing machines, not printing machines. What am I looking for? Gutenberg. Printing press. That's the word I'm looking for. I can think of Gutenberg, but not printing press. Anyway, so Amazon owns printing presses, but when they get backed up, they also ship all of their printing over to Ingram Spark. Not all of it. They ship some of their printing to Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark pretty much is printing any print-on-demand book out there. Yeah. So why are there 3 templates for 3 different storefronts when they are all going basically back to the same printing presses? I don't know.
But I was kind of
person crazy.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, they all have their. I worked at Oracle for a long time, and the amount of red tape you get just because a company's been around for so long and have done it a certain way, and when things change and new things come up, they still do it that old way because it's just easier than changing everything. So it's probably something, I would imagine it's probably something to do with that, right? Ingram is, they do it their way. Amazon did it the way they did it with CreateSpace. Barnes did, they were a bookstore long before they were an ebook store. And so, everyone's got their ways. But I was kind of wondering whether or not, because if you went directly to Barnes and sold and put it on there and you sold it for whatever price and got your whatever your cut is, and then versus doing it on Ingram and then using Ingram to sell via Barnes, you get the same percentage then?
I need to double check that, but if it isn't the same percentage, it's really close.
Okay.
Because the reason is because Barnes & Noble is using Ingram Spark to print, right? So it's still going through Ingram Spark. It's still their printing presses, no matter what. And then by the time you factor in the cost of having your cover done into yet a different template so that you have additional cover costs with your cover designer, you are not saving any money by going direct
All
to Barnes
right.
Noble.
Makes sense. Okay, great. So let's say now that everyone understands what going wide is. We've talked about a lot of the benefits, but I imagine that there are authors out there where going wide is like, a slam dunk. They should obviously be doing it. There's some out there where, they should try it. It might work for them better than it does, better than, Amazon Direct does, aside from all the risk factors that go into, putting all your eggs in one basket, right? And then there might be some authors out there where it's not a good decision. Maybe at that point in their career, going wide isn't the best choice for them. So do you have any thoughts on sort of, what makes the decision better or worse for different authors?
Yeah. I will say first off, I am absolutely biased. And I recognize that bias in me, right? Where I am just from the depths of my soul a wide author. And so I'm not going to be very good at speaking to when it is that somebody should be in KU because I feel like the answer is virtually never. Um, but I will do my darndest to be a little bit less biased than that. Um, there are genres that are more heavily weighted in terms of KU readers. And it is typically genres, not always, but it's typically genres that came into being because of the self publishing revolution, right? So when we had traditional publishing around, you needed to have a pretty big market for a book because the publishing company needed to justify paying the overhead for the publishing company employees and the cover designers, and the author needs to be paid, and the printing costs because you had to do a print run of thousands of books and get those shipped all over the world, and then some of them get returned, and so you had to have a fairly significant market in order to make any money. If you had 1,000 diehard fans of a particular very niche genre, there was no way that a traditional publishing house would touch that because there just wasn't enough there. Not enough meat on the bone, not enough fans of the genre. So in that case, those books just weren't being published. Self-publishing comes along. The costs are so much lower. You need to pay for editing and you need to pay for covers, and maybe you write your own blurb or maybe somebody else writes a blurb. But like in comparison to a traditional publishing company, an indie publisher's costs are significantly lower. So thus uh, ex- uh, our pool of fans can be smaller too, right? So the niche that has 1,000 super fans in it, but otherwise doesn't have much of a market, that can actually be profitable as a self-publisher that it just couldn't be in traditional publishing. So at that point, some of the smaller niches started to really gain a lot of readership. And because Amazon came out of the gate pretty early on, came out really strongly, and gathered up a large portion of the ebook readership, those genres tend to be concentrated a little bit more on Amazon. So some good examples of this is LGBT books, or something that really just did not have much of a market previously. And sadly, any African American people of color books did not tend to do as well with traditional publishing. That has changed with indie publishing, and there are a lot of people who write people of color and have really good success with that now when they didn't necessarily have success in the traditional publishing world. So there are a few genres that can be your readership can be more concentrated on Amazon. Um, Having said that, I feel like even if your readership is concentrated on Amazon, doesn't mean that you should still be in KU. And I know that sounds really wild, but there are some times where, like, I know an author who makes 95% of her income from Amazon and is still wide, because she writes a little bit shorter. So her books do not have that many page reads associated to each one of them, right? So she's not going to be able to make a lot of money from page reads, especially when you compare what she charges for her books. She has a premium brand. She's able to charge $4.99, $5.99 for novels that are short, and that in KU she would maybe make $1 from read through, in terms of page reads. So even though the vast majority of her readership is on Amazon, it still makes sense for her to be wide because she doesn't want page reads. She's like, nope, don't want them. I want to be wide because I want to be able to charge a full retail price for my books.
Right.
I find this. Oh, I was just
No,
going to
go
say,
on.
I find this really interesting. I am an author who writes contemporary romance books, and I just printed mine, but they are thick. So I get the majority of my money from Kindle page reads, but it's one of those things in the back of my mind. I'm like, am I leaving money on the table by? And clearly, your answer would be yes. But it is. There are authors
It's
who
always
make
going
them.
to be yes.
But for me, I get more money from Kindle Unlimited than I do for book sales, even though I sell them at sort of $4.99. So it's interesting, and I'm like, that's the lens I'm listening to you with, and it's kind of interesting to hear your perspectives on it.
Yeah, and listen, to be honest, I knew that question was. I know that you run this site and you're very much in the wide camp, right? So I know asking you that question is gonna be a little bit touchy, but I think that it's something that all authors should think about, and make that decision, right? Because I don't think that there is always one right answer for every single author, right? And maybe for most authors, it's one answer, but there's going to be some where it's not. Now, I have some feelings about maybe some situations where maybe it's not the best. So I want to sort of talk about a couple of those and then get your take on that, because it could be wrong, right? And it could be that other people feel the same way, right? So, for example,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, for example, like, first of all, if you're not in KU, then absolutely you should be wide. That there's no reason not to be, in my opinion, because KU is forcing exclusivity. If you're not exclusive, why shouldn't you put your books on all the other websites? I mean, there's no reason not to, other than the effort and the work involved, which is a thing. And if you're not finding that you're really getting a lot of sales and it's just taking time and it's a hassle for you, maybe in that case, maybe it doesn't make as much sense to you to do that, but the time is a one-time cost per book, right? So, and there's probably ways you can optimize that, or you can go through a distributor like draft to digital or something like that, so that you don't have to go through all that. So if you're not in KU, absolutely, I think for the most part the answer is always going to be you should be wide. So that's my thing. If there's somebody who is in deciding though between KU and not, then like Roland's saying, sometimes they're going to make more money by being in KU just because of Amazon's reach and because of the well, there's two reasons, right? There's Amazon's reach, so a lot of the sales are concentrated. And then there's the idea that they don't know how to market properly to all the other websites in order to make up the difference, right? And that's something I definitely want to talk to you about, but I doubt we'll have enough time today. But I think that the whole marketing wide is a huge bottleneck to people, because they don't know how to get through it, and they don't know how, that's one of the roadblocks that it's something I always found too. Like, my books were wide, if they weren't in KU, they were always wide. But when I was wide, it was like, I didn't really know, other than trying to build a website to put them on and then sell it that way. I didn't know what the options were. So I think, for a newer author, in some cases, that's where I would think the decision isn't as clear cut, because first of all, you don't know enough or have enough experience or enough time to do all those other things that you have to do, so and figure out, such as putting it out onto the other sites, marketing it, and you don't have a following. You don't know if you're gonna have a lot of people. So sometimes, to start, it might be better to go the Amazon route, figure out if this writing thing will work for you, because it's also the biggest market. And so if you can succeed there, going wide, you'll have more likely be able to sell books going wide. Whereas if you can't even sell your book on Amazon in one spot, there's some things you need to work on before you should now go out and publish it everywhere else. Right. So that's one case that I would think. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. So actually, it's quite funny, because the worst time, in my humble opinion, the worst time to be in KU is when you first start out. I mean, you should never be in KU because I'm wide, but I'm the queen. They call me the queen of wide for a reason, right? So I'm always gonna be like, go wide. But there is this idea out there that you should start in KU and then go wide later if you feel like you have done a good job of it. And this is something that you're going to continue. Now, there is the idea of like, what if I don't keep writing? Maybe I write 2 books and then I'm like, screw this, I'm out. I've got other things that I want to do with my life. And so then maybe you've wasted the time going on to other storefronts. Sure. I'm going to just assume that you're going to want to continue to write. That's usually where I start from in terms of when I'm helping people. So I'm going to assume that you want to have a long-term career in this. When you start out exclusive to Amazon, and you are in KU, if you build up your readership in KU, that readership does not transfer when you go wide. 0. Like, the readers who are already purchasing your books on Amazon will continue to purchase your books on Amazon. Then maybe 5 other people in the world will choose to purchase your books rather than read them for free through the Kindle Unlimited program. The vast majority of your readership that you have built up will disappear overnight. And you now get to start over from ground zero. It is hard enough to build a career as an author. I don't envy people who try to do it twice, right? And I'm actually on that list. I started out in KU because when I first started publishing in 2016, I don't know if you've heard this or not, but you can't make any money if you're a wide author, and only stupid people go wide. I mean, there's obviously like a very dumb, like, why would you even ever go wide, right? So only idiots do that. So I went into KU when I first started publishing, and I was actually a librarian previously to being an author, and it was a library thing that killed me. When I found out I couldn't get my books into libraries, I was like, you what? What do you mean I can't get my books into libraries? This shouldn't even be legal. How could that? No. So I ended up going wide when I didn't know a single person who was wide. I legitimately did not know another single author who was wide at that point. I didn't know anything about doing it. All I knew was that I was going to do it because I was not going to be exclusive any longer, because I wanted my books in libraries. So I figured everything out the hard way, which is not what I recommend. This is why I ended up starting Wide for the Win. Okay, so the reason that, Craig, you made some really good points, and I actually feel like you have your own answer in what you were saying. You just didn't quite realize it. It is harder to upload your manuscript to multiple storefronts, right? And every storefront has got kind of its own little tricks and tips and things that work better for it that don't work on other storefronts, and blah blah blah. That is more work. However, contrary to popular opinion, you really should upload to Amazon and not be exclusive when you are first starting out, right? Upload to Amazon, get comfortable, realize it's just you're publishing a book to a storefront. You're putting in metadata, you're putting in the title and the subtitle and the blurb. You need to have an EPUB. It's not that complicated. Publish to Amazon, do some deep breaths, realize this is doable. This is not rocket science. This is not, you do not need to be Einstein to be able to do this. Go and set up an account with Kobo. A month later, upload your book to Kobo. Realize, wow, that was actually an even easier dashboard to use than Amazon's was. This is really going to be okay. You can slowly publish your books across storefronts as you get comfortable and as you have the time to do it. There's no reason that you need to start out by publishing on all the storefronts all at the same time and have everything optimized right out of the gate. If you do, you will be a superstar, right? I change things all the time with my books as I learn and I grow as an author. So the idea that you will just start out and everything will be perfect from day one and you'll never need to change your covers or your blurbs or your keywords or anything about your book because you had it smack dab on from day one, it's just not realistic. It's an ongoing process as you're learning. So I actually say to upload to Amazon first. Do not enroll your books into Kindle Unlimited. And then over the next couple of months, publish your books to the other storefronts as you get comfortable with publishing.
And what about using something like Draft to Digital where you don't have to, you have to give a small percentage to them, of course, but that way you don't have to go through the process of doing everything 5 times or, you do it one time. I still would say go to Amazon directly for them, but for everyone else, the way I used to do it was through Draft to Digital and allow them to push everything out to Apple and Barnes and, all the different ones.
So, couple of different thoughts about that. First off, Draft to Digital does not get you to Google Play. So even if you were to choose to go to Amazon and Draft to Digital, you still need to upload to Google Play in order to get onto that storefront. So you're at a bare minimum 3 of them, right? Apple works extraordinarily well with distributors. Apple does not care how you get to them. A distributor, direct, smoke signal, telegram, they don't care. Stone chisels, delivered to their front doorsteps. They just want your book on their storefront. I actually use Apple. I use Draft to Digital to get to Apple. Every device that I own is an Apple device. My brother works for Apple, and I still use Draft to Digital to get to Apple. Their dashboard, out of all of the dashboards that you can upload to, I find theirs the most difficult, the most non-user friendly. So I did originally upload my books to to Apple, and then I eventually switched over, and now from that point forward, everything goes to Draft to Digital. All of my old ones are still going direct, so I'm technically half direct and half through Draft to Digital. So yeah, D2D works really well for Apple. D2D does not work as well for Kobo and does not work at all for Barnes & Noble. Kobo, the main driver of visibility on Kobo is in-house promotions. The end. In-house promotions is how you get visibility on Kobo. There's not much in terms of internal organic visibility that comes from, they just show new books to readers and that sort of thing. Apple does a really good job of that. Google does a really good job of that. Kobo does not do it. In order to get visibility on Kobo, you must be doing in-house promotions and or getting book bubs all the time. Those are your 2 options, the end. So in that case, I would say at least 70, 80% of the in-house promotions that Kobo offers are not available if you use a distributor. They have an in-house promotions tab. They very much emphasize going direct to them.
Right.
You can get some in-house promotions if you use Draft to Digital, but the majority of the promotions simply will not be available to you. So that's why I say Kobo is one that you really should go direct. Barnes and Noble, I don't know if out of the listening audience, there's a TikTok thing. Tell me blah, blah, blah without saying the words blah, blah, blah. I'll go first. Tell me you don't make any money on Barnes and Noble without saying the words, I don't make any money on Barnes and Noble. I use a distributor to get to Barnes and Noble.
So using a distributor kind of
not.
cuts out the profit part of it.
Actually, it's not even that, right? Because I use a distributor to get to Apple, and they take 10%, and I am happy to have them take the 10% because Apple does not where they hold it, they don't hold it against you. They don't hold it against you for using a distributor. Barnes and Noble does. Barnes and Noble wants you to go direct to them, period. They do not like it when you use a distributor to go to them. There are, like I said with Kobo, there's the in-house promotions is how you get visibility, right? With Barnes and Noble, you get visibility there via in-house promotions and super cool categories. Barnes and Noble, at the heart and soul of them, is a company that is a bookseller. You are not going to go buy a book and then they're like, hey, by the way, we have the sale on a microwave. Go buy this, right? Pot holders. Like they sell books. Their categories absolutely reflect that. They have got some categories that are just nowhere else, period. They're nothing like the BISAC categories that you see on Apple, Google Play, Draft to Digital. They have categories like unforeseen and unlikely loves and love and war ? Rogues, rebels, and rakes. Like there are just these crazy categories that don't exist elsewhere. And unlike Amazon, the categories on the back end match the categories on the front end 100%. As a reader, because the search engine on Barnes & Noble isn't that great, they're not a tech company, right? They don't have great search capability. Readers aren't finding books by going up to the top of the store and putting in a search in the search bar. Readers are finding books by using the left-hand bar and looking at all the different categories that are available. And they find a category that has some trope in it that they just love, and every time they're looking for a new book, they go back to that category. What else is there to read today? I'm going to go look at this category. If you use a distributor to get to Barnes & Noble, you will not be in those super cool categories. You will legitimately be in categories such as romance general, which is slightly less exciting. So at that case, you have no access to in-house promotions. They will not, unlike Kobo that will do like some in-house promotions if you use a distributor, Barnes & Noble will not do in-house promotions if you use a distributor to get to them, period. So you don't have any access to in-house promotions. You don't have any access to categories. What are the two ways that you get a visibility on Barnes & Noble? In-house promotions and categories. You will not make money on Barnes & Noble unless you go direct.
That's interesting. Has that changed sort of recently, or has that always been the case? I know I used to use Barnes, back in the day, but I don't really use Draft Digital much anymore. But I don't recall, I don't recall there being significantly less sales on Barnes back then. I do, now that you mention it, I do recall the Kobo situation where you couldn't do promotions, and the fact that Google doesn't do them. But I don't recall there being an issue with Barnes. So I'm just wondering whether or not, that's a situation that's changed, somewhat recently or not.
Yes. So Barnes & Noble actually has me as a beta tester. And so I helped in my own little way in terms of helping them develop a new dashboard for authors. The Barnes & Noble dashboard for authors used to be just one step short of chiseling into stone tablets via crazed chipmunks on meth. It was awful. I hated their dashboard so much. And I reached out to Barnes and Noble and complained about and I was like, what is this? And so that's why they ended up having me come on as a beta tester. They were sick of listening to me whine and complain. And they now have one of the best dashboards out there to upload to. Their sales reporting is amazing. Their dashboard is slick, it's smooth, it does not error out all the time. It just works. On top of that, they also added a promotions tab. It used to be that you needed to know the super secret password to get a form that just kind of floated out there in space, and you otherwise didn't have access to in-house promotions. The in-house promotions tab, you get like a baby version of it when you very first sign up for a Barnes & Noble account, and then you can ask for the full-fledged version of it. So these in-house promotions that used to be hidden and you couldn't find are now much more available to indie authors, if that makes sense. So it has changed.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. It sounds like a lot of it's changed, so that's good. I mean, that's why we wanted you on here, right, to talk about all these things. And listen, like I was saying before, I have my feelings about it, but that's why I wanted to run them by you, because you definitely know more about this than I do, right? So I totally agree. It's just to go back a little bit to some of the things you were saying about new authors and such going wide. I agree that your KU sales, those people that borrow in KU are not going to convert to people that buy your books. That's just the way it is, and I totally agree with that. So the question really then becomes, would those people have bought it if you weren't in KU? Probably not, right? Because most people, they paid their $10 a month and they feel like, I'm done. This is my buffet. I want all you can eat, and I don't want to add on and pay more money when I already did it. And so those people you're not going to get if you go into KU and you go out of KU, whether you go wide or not. But then that means that but then you're not really losing those people, because you wouldn't have got them in the first place if you didn't go in KU to begin with, right? So then that's where I think the problem is like whether or not, and I think for some genres it's better than others. Like romance, KU is much bigger for romance because there's so many voracious readers that just read so much that they can't, and romance is specifically, right, because they're just faster books to read usually, that they couldn't afford it if they wanted to buy all the books that they could read. So you get those, but to your point with the other author that you're mentioning, the higher your price of your books, the less it makes sense to go into KU, because you're not going to make that money back. Back when I was doing this actively, publishing romance actively, 99 cents was the price that everybody was putting their books at. And, we hated it, but, that's what it was. And at that point, even at the current KU prices, you were getting more for a page read than you were for the 33 cents that you're getting from Amazon. It's great now that when I look at the top 100 list, there's almost no books at 99 cents in romance. I think that's great. So from that perspective, the KU equation totally changes and it's no longer as profitable. So you really need to make a lot more sales in KU to make up for those losses, right?
Yeah, so a couple of different thoughts there is sorry, my brain just went blank. Lord, I'm tired, sorry. We're not live, right? You can cut this part out. Where Erin Wright's brain goes completely blank.
We can. Yeah.
That's good.
It's my fault because I took us back when your brain moved on, right?
So, yeah, right. Okay. We were talking about going wide, 99 cents. That wasn't specifically what I was going to talk about, though. Um,
I was just going
wow.
back to the fact that,
Why?
the price, not just the prices, but also the idea that, the KU buyers are not going to follow you. I don't know if that was around what you were talking
Oh, yes. Thank you.
about.
Thank you for being my brain.
No problem.
Okay, so I have several thoughts on what you were just saying. First off, quite often, I will see a KU author say, it's okay that my books are only available on Amazon because all you need to do is just download this Amazon app onto your e-reader and then you can get my books off Amazon. And there's this like push of like, even if you have a Kobo e-reader or Barnes and Noble or iPad or whatever, like you should still be reading off Amazon. And KU authors expect wide readers to simply download and start using a different app and a different platform than they prefer to use. But when a KU author goes wide, they're not telling their KU readers, now you have to download a new app. You have to set up a totally new account. You have to use something that you've never used before. They're legitimately saying to these readers, you can still stay right where you're at. All you have to do is now purchase my book instead of getting it for free. And KU readers still won't do it. That's how not loyal KU readers are. There is this idea out there that people cannot afford to buy wide books. And I've heard that a lot. And there is a little bit of yeah, wide books, you do have to pay for each one of them rather than having a buffet. Having said that, there are all you can eat reader subscription programs that are wide. Scribd is one of them. It's the word like scribe, but they take off the E at the end and add a D instead. I don't know if a scribd is how you're supposed to say it or not, but anyway, you can get to that through Draft to Digital. Kobo has a program called Kobo Plus. Um, and then we have libraries. Libraries have been around for tens of thousands, or not tens of thousands, but thousands of years anyway, right? You can go down to your local library and you can check out eBooks and you can read those on your e-reader. So the idea that you can only reach readers if you make your book free through Kindle Unlimited because they otherwise couldn't afford to buy your books isn't really true, because you're paying for your local library. Whether or not you use it, you are paying the taxes for it. So why not use that membership to get ebooks for free? And those ebooks, the libraries pay the authors. So the authors make money, librarians get to provide a service to the community, and readers get to not pay any more money above and beyond taxes. It truly is a win-win. If all the KU readers out there took their $120 a year and turned around and donated it to their local library instead, they would be out of pocket the same amount that they are right now. And we would have a way better library, thriving library world than we do right now, right?
That's
So,
true.
like, we don't need Kindle Unlimited to provide books to people who don't have the cash to go down to their local store and just buy a $20 book. Kindle Unlimited is solving a problem that had already been solved. We don't need to solve it again.
No, that's a great point. I think a lot of people don't use their libraries for ebooks, and these, especially during COVID. I don't even know if the libraries were open, but I think that you're able to log on to a lot of libraries. I don't know if it's every library, but you're allowed to log on to your local library and download ebooks. Similar in some cases, right? Similar to how you would go onto Amazon, and that does what you said. It still pays the author, and it allows you to not even leave your home. Just as convenient,
Yep, absolutely. And actually, when COVID hit, so March of 2020, library sales went absolutely bonkers for ebooks, because previously to that, patrons knew, yeah, okay, I can get an ebook, but a lot of library patrons were still holding on to it, right? They love them. They're dead trees. And so once the library branches shut down and said, we can't have anybody come in because there's this plague going around the world. Whoa, how fun. The ebook sales to libraries went absolutely bonkers because people were like, okay, fine, I guess I'll use my library ebook app. And there are multiple ebook apps out there, just like there are multiple storefronts, Amazon versus Barnes Noble versus Kobo. You have got Overdrive, Hoopla, Libby, Baker and Taylor, Biblioteca, and those are just English speaking ones, right? There are libraries that do ebooks around the world in every language under the sun. So there's a very big library market out there. And again, you are cutting yourself off from that if you are exclusive.
Absolutely. Yeah, we could talk about this for, I know, another hour easily. And there's questions just about libraries that I could ask you for for a long time here.
Right.
But we're pretty much out of time. And usually Roland would do the wrap up, but he's been texting me, so he's got some mic problems right now. So I'm gonna do it today. But this, like I said, this is like part one of a lot of discussions, I hope, that we're going to have with you about wide topics. And, I talked about the fact that one of the ones I really want to talk about is the marketing aspect, but there's so much more.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because it's just
a
completely different mindset that I call it the wide mindset because I'm very creative, that you need to have to be a successful wide author. And it's a completely different mindset that you need to have to be a successful KU author. It is black and it is white. There's very, very little overlap between the two mindsets. So I'm happy to talk about wide all day long and twice on Sunday. So yeah, I'd be thrilled to come back to do as many more follow-ups as y'all want me to do.
Yeah, perfect. Maybe we'll have to do one on the wide mindset. So
yeah,
you know what? So let's end it here. But if authors are listening to this and wanting to know more, they can go over to Facebook and the Wide for the Win group that you run. I think they have to apply, send an email or whatever, and then you look at them and let them in. But I don't think that's a hard process. So hopefully they'll go and do that. And then is there anything else that you wanted to plug or, have people look at?
Nope. I mean, I do consultations for white authors, but honestly, I would prefer that authors go into Wide for the Win and do some reading. We have the Tree of Wisdom up at the top of the group where we link to a bunch of different posts where myself and a bunch of other authors have provided a lot of useful information. And read through that and be sure that you actually want to go wide before you were to do a consultation with me, for a multitude of reasons. One of which is that I'm booked out months in advance. So even if you wanted to do a consultation with me today, as of the time of recording of this, my closest consultation availability date is 5 months out. So I would prefer that you go to Wide for the Win and learn a lot in there. And then when you're wanting one-on-one and for me to give you specific advice to your situation, I'm happy to do a consultation. But yeah, we've got, when you apply, you just need to answer 3 questions. You just apply, answer those questions, we let you in, and you are welcome to the wide world, and you enter the gates of the wide world. Come have fun. We have cookies.
Awesome. And I mean, I am a member of that group as well, so I can attest to the fact that it is all that it's hyped up to be. And I recommend that people check it out. So thanks again for coming and talking to us today. And on behalf of Roland, who can't talk right now, and myself, thanks. And we will, hit the like button, the subscribe button, the share button, whatever it is you do on social, wherever it is you're listening to us or watching us on YouTube. Do all those fun things so that we can keep bringing you this content. And we'll see you next week.